A note before we start. Keanu Reeves and Alexandra Grant are not married. There is no wife, no wedding, and no confirmed engagement. That's not a spoiler. It's the actual story, because the rumor that they secretly wed is exactly what forced two of Hollywood's most private people to finally say something out loud. In June 2025, Alexandra Grant walked a red carpet next to Keanu Reeves at the Los Angeles premiere of Ballerina. Nothing about the appearance was unusual. They'd been doing this, on and off, for 6 years. But a photographer caught the light hitting a ring on her hand, and within days, tabloids had built an entire narrative around it. A secret European wedding, hidden from the press, confirmed by sources close to the couple. It wasn't confirmed by anyone close to the couple. It was a guess dressed up as a scoop. For 3 months, that guess metastasized. Congratulations piled up in comment sections. Old red carpet photos got recirculated with new, false captions. By September, the rumor had traveled so far that Reeves's own representative had to issue a flat denial to press outlets. It is not true. They are not married. On September 24th, Grant posted a photo of herself kissing Reeves at Roden Crater, an art site in Arizona, and closed the loop herself. 2 words, no ambiguity, fake news. That single Instagram caption did more to correct the record than any official statement. It's also the reason this story is worth telling at all, not because there's a secret wife to reveal, but because the wedding rumor accidentally exposed just how little the public actually knows about a relationship that's been running quietly for close to 2 decades. To understand why one ring photo could spin into a fabricated wedding, you have to understand how unusually little Keanu Reeves has ever said about his personal life. Reeves became a global name through Bill and Ted, then The Matrix, and later found a second career peak with the John Wick franchise, a rare feat for an actor in his late 50s and early 60s. Off-screen, his reputation was built less on interviews and more on second-hand stories. The actor who reportedly gave away a large share of his Matrix profits to the film's special effects and costume teams, the actor photographed riding the New York subway like anyone else, the actor known in industry circles for showing up early and staying late out of respect for crew. What he didn't do was talk about who he loved. For decades, journalists who tried to get Reeves to discuss his relationships ran into the same wall. A polite redirect, a short non-answer, a subject change. That silence didn't stop speculation. If anything, it fed it. Entertainment outlets built entire narratives around his personal life using nothing but absence. Theories that repeated loss had made him permanently guarded, that he'd simply stopped looking for a serious relationship. None of it was sourced to Reeves himself. It didn't need to be. A famous person's silence gets filled in by other people, whether or not they have any idea what they're talking about. What almost none of those stories accounted for was the woman he'd already known for years, filed under labels vague enough to survive public scrutiny. Collaborator, friend, business partner. Keanu Reeves and Alexandra Grant met at a dinner party in 2009. Neither of them has ever pinned down the exact date, which tells you something about how unremarkable the moment felt at the time. There was no reported spark, no headline, just 2 people who got along. 2 years later, in 2011, they published something together. Ode to Happiness, a small illustrated book pairing Reeves's writing with Grant's artwork. According to later interviews, Grant originally made it as a private gift for Reeves, not intended for publication at all. Friends who saw it reportedly encouraged the 2 of them to release it commercially, and they did. Reeves has since described the book, in brief public remarks, as something like a meditation on making peace with difficult circumstances. That project set a pattern that would repeat for the better part of a decade. In 2016, Grant and Reeves released a second collaboration, Shadows, built around photographs Grant took of Reeves, his silhouette, his shape in negative space, rather than his face. The same year, the 2 of them appeared together at the Unaids Gala in Switzerland, a public appearance that barely registered in entertainment coverage. In 2017, they co-founded X Artists Books, a small independent publishing house, according to reporting from outlets covering the couple's early history together. None of this read as romantic to the press at the time, because none of it looked like the kind of evidence tabloids usually chase. No paparazzi shots of hand-holding, no restaurant sightings, Nothing gossip columns could easily package. It looked like two working artists supporting each other's projects. In hindsight, that's exactly what let them build a real relationship almost entirely out of public view, inside a corner of the culture, the art world, that celebrity press rarely bothers to cover closely. The shift happened in 2019, and it happened fast. In May, Reeves and Grant appeared together at a benefit for the Museum of Contemporary Art, MoCA. In June, they were photographed at a Malibu fashion show, hands clasped. Then, in November, they walked the red carpet together at the LACMA Art Plus Film Gala, and that appearance is generally cited as the moment they became a public couple. The reaction was immediate and, by Grant's own account, overwhelming. In a 2020 interview with Vogue, Grant said that in the week following the LACMA appearance, it felt like site index equals 8-1. Every single person I knew called me in the first week of November. /site, rather than treating that surge of attention as something to manage or exploit, she said her instinct was to keep asking herself a simple question: what good could actually come out of it? That detail matters more than it might seem to. It's a small window into how Grant approaches public attention in general, not chasing it, not performing discomfort with it either, just trying to find some use for it before deciding how to respond. There's also a detail that quietly rewrites the relationship's timeline. When the LACMA photos broke, actress Jennifer Tilly, a friend of Grant's, told reporters the two had already been together for several years, not months. That single comment, more than anything Reeves or Grant has said directly, suggests the relationship long predated its public reveal, that the 2019 red carpet wasn't the start of something new, but the moment an already established relationship simply stopped being hidden. Reeves's guardedness about his personal life didn't come from nowhere, and most profiles of him eventually circle back to two losses that shaped how the public read him for years. In the early 1990s, Reeves lost his close friend and my own private Idaho co-star River Phoenix, a loss he's rarely discussed in detail publicly. Later, Reeves and his then-girlfriend Jennifer Syme lost their daughter, stillborn, and the relationship didn't survive what followed. In 2001, Syme died in a car accident. 4 years afterward, entertainment coverage treated Reeves as a kind of tragic figure, the movie star who'd simply accepted being alone rather than risk that kind of loss again. That narrative wasn't necessarily malicious, but it was incomplete, because it assumed his private life had stayed empty. It hadn't. His friendship with Grant had already been quietly developing underneath all of that public narrative, 2 books and a small publishing house deep, long before anyone in the press had a reason to connect the dots. So when the relationship became public in 2019, it didn't read like a typical celebrity announcement. It read, to a lot of longtime observers, like new information overturning an old and inaccurate story about who Reeves was. It would be a mistake to treat Alexandra Grant as a supporting character in someone else's story. She built a career long before Reeves entered the public conversation around her. Grant was born in Ohio in 1973 to a geology professor and a diplomat who later became a political science professor. She grew up between Mexico City, Paris, and boarding schools in the United States, and became fluent in English, Spanish, and French. She studied history and studio art at Swarthmore College, then earned a graduate degree in painting from the California College of the Arts. Her first solo museum show came in 2007 at MoCA in Los Angeles, a decade before Reeves became part of her public narrative. She's since taught at multiple institutions, directed a documentary, and expanded into other creative ventures, including wine production alongside her gallery work, according to profiles covering her career. When Grant discusses her relationship with Reeves publicly, she's been consistent about one point. Her professional identity was established well before the relationship became public, and it hasn't been restructured around his fame. That distinction is worth sitting with. In an industry that often flattens partners of famous men into a single relational identity, Grant has largely avoided that. Ask people in the Los Angeles art world who she is, and Reeves usually isn't the first thing they mention. After the LACMA reveal in 2019, Reeves and Grant mostly stepped back from red carpets together for roughly 3 years. Occasional paparazzi photos, no coordinated public appearances. Then, in 2022, they resurfaced at the MoCA Gala. In 2023, at the same event, they shared a kiss in front of photographers, something neither had done publicly before. Around that same period, Reeves gave one of his rare, unguarded comments about the relationship. Asked by People magazine about a recent moment of happiness, he described something ordinary. Sight index equals 8-1, being in bed with his partner, connected, laughing together, feeling at ease, /sight, no red carpet, no event, just an evening at home. Grant has offered similarly restrained but telling comments. Speaking to an audience at an event honoring her own work, she reportedly said that falling in love as an adult, after she'd already built her career, gave her a kind of confidence she isn't sure she'd have found otherwise. These moments are rare, brief, and almost always understated, which appears to be exactly the point. Which brings the story back to where it started. That ring, that photo, and the wedding that never happened. By the time the rumor peaked in September 2025, it had been circulating for roughly 3 months, fed almost entirely by speculation rather than reporting. A tabloid report claimed the two had married in a private European ceremony. Reeves's representative denied it directly to press. Not true, not married. Grant then addressed it herself, posting a real, unposed photo from Arizona and writing plainly that it wasn't an engagement photo and that the wedding people were congratulating her on simply hadn't happened. She added a light warning about how quickly false stories spread, be careful out there, before calling the photo a bit of real happiness. Weeks later, at the New York premiere of his film Good Fortune, a reporter asked Reeves about the rumor directly. He confirmed simply that they'd been together a long time, and praised how Grant had handled the correction, thanking people for their good wishes while gently setting the record straight, without drama. He reportedly called the whole episode a nice thing, in its own way, since it came from people who genuinely wanted good things for the two of them. Days after the correction, the couple made a rare public appearance together at the Broadway opening of Reeves's play Waiting for Godot, his Broadway debut, holding hands on the red carpet, seemingly unbothered by the weeks of coverage that had just wrapped up. The wedding rumor says less about Reeves and Grant than it does about what happens when two genuinely private people leave almost no public trail to work with. A ring photographed at the wrong angle became a secret wedding. A birthday post with a heart-shaped cake became evidence. A held hand at a gala became a coded announcement. None of it was coded. It was just two people living a life that happens to occasionally cross paths with photographers. That's the pattern underneath this entire story. The less two public figures explain about their private life, the more the public tends to invent to fill the space. Reeves and Grant haven't shown much interest in closing that gap, and there's no indication either of them plans to start. As of now, Reeves and Grant are not married and have not announced an engagement. What they have is a relationship that predates its own public reveal by years, built first on collaboration, 2 books, a small publishing house, and only later acknowledged as a romance. They continue to appear together occasionally, gallery galas, film premieres, the rare red carpet, always in the same understated register they've kept since 2019. Grant continues expanding her own work, gallery shows, teaching, and ventures like wine production, independent of anything connected to Reeves's career. Reeves, for his part, continues to work across film and, as of early 2026, stage, with Grant reportedly in the audience for milestone moments like his Broadway debut. If there's a lesson in how this couple has handled nearly 2 decades of public curiosity, it's a fairly simple one. They correct the record when they have to, and they go back to their own lives immediately after. No wedding has happened. No wife has been revealed. What's actually been revealed, slowly and only when necessary, is a partnership that was never hidden so much as it was simply never advertised.